Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. I'm your host, Edie Summers, and The Wellness Coach is your oasis to slow down, tune in, and reboot. Find us on the web at portlandwellnesscoach.com. And today, I have a very special guest. We're going to be talking about how you can avoid pain, stiffness, and joint issues. Bart Potter is my guest today, and we're talking about his book. He's the author of Jiffy Body, the 10-minute system to avoid joint and muscle pain, and how you can avoid aches and pains and stiffness and swelling, even nerve impingement and joint problems with the Jiffy Body 10-minute daily system. Learn the little-known secret that muscle imbalance creates the vast majority of aches and pains, and how you can easily fix this. You don't have to suffer or sweat with this non-workout. You can practice in your pajamas even. So again, as I mentioned, Bart Potter, he's in the studio. I'll bring him here in just a moment. He is the author of Jiffy Body, the 10-minute system to avoid joint and muscle pain. And since 1995, he has taught people of all ages a simple approach to avoid pain and tune up their bodies. He truly enjoys sharing quick tips for a healthier and happier body, brain, and life. And you can check out his website, jiffybody.com. So on that note, I'm going to bring Bart here into the studio just a moment. I'm just letting his mic. There we go. Hi, Bart. How are you doing today?
Oh, good, Edie. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks, and thanks for being here.
Oh, yeah, it's a pleasure. And am I pronouncing your name correctly, hopefully?
You are, yes. And thank you for asking. I know I get asked that a lot. I often get called Eddie. Not so much during kind of the pandemic, because I don't see as many people, but it used to be like every day. People would call me Eddie. So thank you for asking. That's very nice. So Bart, I've actually been studying for group fitness certification, and I'm wondering if this is related to, they really cover this in their muscle imbalance. I'm curious. I know you're going to tell us all about Jiffy Body, your book Jiffy Body, and also kind of the details of how people can avoid pain and stiffness and swelling, nerve impingement, joint problems. I'm really curious to know if this is actually what I've been studying. But first, I'd love to know a little bit of your background, maybe what brought you to, how did you discover that muscle imbalance is creating, the vast majority of aches and pains? How did your path lead you to creating this book, Jiffy Body, and figuring all this out?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Originally, over 20 years ago, I actually had chronic shoulder, upper, and lower back pain for several years. Okay. And I spent a crazy amount of time and money seeking out experts in sports medicine, physical therapy, chiropractic, pain management, just on and on. And so that's originally how I was drawn to this, is by suffering. Lots of suffering. Yeah, and my shoulder became. What was that?
It's often the case that suffering brings us to discovering solutions, right, and then helping other people.
Yeah.
Starting with
my mentor in this business, who I eventually learned from, used to always say, "Pain is a powerful motivator." So
I think that's true.
Yeah, and in fact, when I got into, I apprenticed with him for several years, and then I for over 20, I've been working with my own clients with all these types of aches, pains, like all those issues, nerve impingement, joint problems. And lots of times, those are 80% of the time plus, those are the people who are coming to see me who already have problems, that they want to address.
Yes.
So it does work that way.
Absolutely. So you were saying, sorry, I think I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, eventually I had even worked with a world famous physical therapist at one time, actually. Her name was Florence Kendall. And she was amazing. She trained physical therapists. She wrote textbooks for them. And I was able to get a little bit better after working with her. But it wasn't until I met a guy, his name was Sean McCarver, and that was the guy I ended up eventually learning from, and he just had this reputation. People would come to him from all over as kind of a last resort type of deal.
Yes.
And he was renowned for helping people get back on track. And the way he did it, the core principle of what he used to help people get back on track was called muscle balance.
Okay. So then maybe this is a good time to ask you, what is muscle balance and or imbalance? And again, I am curious to know if this is the same thing I've been studying, although I'm sure that I'm still learning. So what is that exactly?
Yeah, good way to first, and it was good you mentioned muscle imbalance. A good way to first understand muscle balance is to think of an easy example of what is muscle imbalance. And a really good example of that would be like if you picture a golfer, let's say, who plays golf for 20 years, and a right-handed golfer is always going to swing from one side of the body. And so over time, eventually that's going to create imbalance for the muscles that stabilize the hips, the back, the shoulders, and it's going to make that golfer more prone to injury. So it becomes kind of like when the wheels on a car are out of alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in fact, I did so there's muscle imbalance, right? So a simple example of how to correct muscle imbalance would be with this repetitive activity of golf, right? Thousands and thousands of swings from one side of the body for who knows how long, right? So a simple way to counteract, I'm sorry, what?
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying I can imagine that would create imbalance especially if you're, I have a friend who's like a semi-pro golfer, so I can imagine, there'd be a lot of swings from one side. Whatever side that may be.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you think about a baseball player who's, generally most baseball players are one-sided, unless, they're a switch hitter, I guess. I did an interview not too long ago on a golf show, and there was a PGA instructor there, and he was like, it's really interesting you mentioned that. He said, because now they're teaching people to start to take practice swings from the opposite side as a way to counteract that muscle imbalance. Learn to practice the opposite, essentially. It really can be that simple. Yeah. So then another way to understand the whole muscle balance concept is you could think of cables that support a suspension bridge. And on one side of the bridge, let's say if the cables are tighter, that's going to make the bridge lopsided and cause structural problems.
Okay, that makes sense.
So with that bridge analogy, then you could think of your muscles as like these cables that support the bridge. And in our case, our structure consists of our bones and our joints. And it's our muscles that either keep our structure in balance or out of balance. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in what I'm learning, both for certification and also from being a fitness instructor, kind of hearing along the way, and also we all have aches and pains, right? Like I've heard this several times, also maybe from a chiropractor or a physical therapist along the way, that you might feel like you have a pain somewhere, but it actually the what's causing it is something else, right? Like, again, it's sort of, you might say, oh, it's my shoulder, but it could be something else that's out of balance that's causing the shoulder issue, or that's what I've heard along the way.
It
I'm wondering
could,
if that's where you did.
yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you have to look away from where you're actually feeling the pain. So, for instance, you could have pain all the way down into your hand and wrist, but the source of the problem could be happening further up the chain at your shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So
by
this
increasing,
muscle,
go ahead, Bart. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So
Sorry.
another simple example of muscle imbalance would be we all sit a lot, right? So if you sit on average 8 hours a day, in 1 year, that can add up to over 2,900 hours of sitting. And, we can all be hunched over. I hunch over myself. I don't know if you had that experience.
I'm trying to not do that. I used to sit up really straight, and then I noticed myself over the years doing the opposite. So, yeah, I've heard it's not good for you. So, interesting.
Yeah, so what can happen is that's a really good, simple example of a repetitive activity, kind of like golf swing, right? That's a repetitive activity over years and years. Yep. Well, sitting works like a repetitive activity as well that we practice. Like I said, easily it could be 2,900 hours in a year. I know it's kind of
practicing sitting. Yeah, it's really true. I think a lot of us are experts at sitting. And we really should be experts at other things. So then tell me, actually, you know what, Bart, let's take a really, really short break, and then when we come back, if you don't mind sharing, first of all, how your mentor was able to help you, and then maybe let's talk more about your book and how your system can help other people. I know it's a 10-minute system, so so we'll be right back, everyone. You're listening to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. And I'm your host, Edie Summers. This is The Wellness Coach, and we are talking today about how you can avoid pain and stiffness and joint issues. And I'm being conscious of sitting up nice and tall in my chair here. And Bart is the author, Bart Potter is the author of Jiffy Body, the 10-minute system to avoid joint and muscle pain. And again, you can check it out on his website, jiffybody.com. So Bart, how did your mentor, I forgot his name, how did he help you? What was your issue again? You had pain. What specifically did you have going on? And then how did he help you?
Yeah, with me it was shoulder, upper, and lower back pain. And actually my shoulder had become so dysfunctional I learned to write left-handed at one point.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Lots of cumulative sports injuries just took me down the wrong road.
It's amazing what we'll do to compensate. It's amazing. And yet there are actually things you can do, right, to correct imbalances the proper way. So what did you do? What did he have you do to correct those issues for you?
Yeah, Sean taught me 3 key principles that, as a result, I also teach in my book. And the first principle is called muscle balance. The second principle is called joint range of motion. And the third is identify and improve weak points. So, for example, with my shoulder, that was easy to identify, right? A real weak point there. Yeah, it wasn't too hard. But the good news is with the concepts I teach in my book is it's really easy to practice techniques where you can practice joint range of motion and you can improve muscle balance. And by going through the system that I teach, it kind of works like a 28-point inspection for a car. With a car, you can run through with your mechanic and they'll quickly go through it and identify, oh, you got to tune this up, this part here, that this joint here, a little lubrication here, and the system works the same way. It's a simple way to go through all your major parts and identify the weak points, and those weak points generally relate to problems with muscle balance or restricted joint range of motion.
Okay. And that does sound familiar. So then can you give us maybe a couple of specific examples about what you did, what helped you specifically to help your shoulder?
Yeah,
maybe?
and in fact, I gave away quite a bit of free tips on my website too that will show you some of the practice positions, because it can be a little bit hard to describe. I will describe it anyway.
Got it. No problem.
Go
ahead.
What's that? Oh yeah, I have a free download on my site too. It's at jiffybody.com. It's kind of like Jiffy Lube, but it's Jiffy Body.
I didn't even make that connection. Oh my gosh, that's really smart. Very clever. I didn't make that connection. And actually, I think I created a bit link that maybe takes them to the download page. I hope I did. If not, I can update the bit link. But I have a bit link, bit.ly/Jiffy Body. I'm pretty sure that's the link that you gave me, Bart. And maybe that takes people to let me check on this. But go ahead, Bart. I'm just, we can.
So my website is jiffybody.com. I have a blog section there called Quick Body Tips as well.
Okay.
And I think I have easily 8 videos up there demonstrating some of the practice positions. And the cool thing about the practice positions is this is a non-workout. You could do this in your pajamas. You can do it at home. Yeah, if you're standing in line at the grocery store, you could practice them.
These are all things we can be doing right now. We have a lot of time for a lot of this. The bit link that I created, everybody does go to this, what Bart is referring to, Quick Body Tips. So again, that bit link is bit.ly/Jiffy Body. That will take you to the Quick Body Tips that Bart's referring to. So go ahead, Bart. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and then also on my site there's a free product. I think you can download it on pretty much any page on my site.
Okay.
And that will show you some of the muscle balancing techniques and the simple joint range of motion positions.
Okay. Perfect. I know it can be hard to describe things if they're a little more complex, and I totally get that. So Bart, I want to thank you so much for being here today. And we definitely have more time. I'm flexible on time. I don't know about you. Is there anything else that you feel like you want to dive deeper into, or I'm totally whatever you feel like is real, like you really want people to know or understand on our chat today? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just to kind of give people a better idea, like with how we talked about sitting, okay? Because sitting is such a prevalent, repetitive activity that really can cause havoc for your body structure over time. So one of the techniques that I show, in the video and the free download is just a simple way. If you think about those muscle cables on your body, when you sit, and let's say I'm hunched over right now, I'm sitting in my couch, hunched over.
Let's both sit
what
up
happens is, what happens is the more hours I'm seated like that, then you could think of the muscle cables on the upper front side of your body get tighter and shorter.
Okay, that makes sense.
Muscle cables, and then the muscle cables on the upper back actually get overstretched.
Okay.
So an important thing here is sometimes people will look at my book and they'll go, oh, hey, just real quickly, and they might say, hey, you got a nice little stretching program there. And one point I really try to make clear is it's not just about stretching, okay? Because, for example, with the muscles in your upper back, they're already overstretched. We don't want to stretch them anymore. In fact, what we want to do is start tightening and shortening them so that they can hold your structure in balance. So it's kind of
Well,
like that suspension bridge. If it's leaning over to one side, the cables are overstretched on one side of the bridge, and they're shorter on the other.
That totally makes sense. And then would you also want to strengthen your core, like kind of the, maybe like, I don't know, stomach muscles, or, I mean, your core is more than that, I know, but is there, and I know that you go into details in your book, but is there anything else that pops to mind that would be, is it more than, say, let's say we're talking about a back issue, is it more than shortening the muscles that have been overstretched, or is it also, say, strengthening the core? Or
so that's a really
Go
good example of the back, because so many people come to me with back problems. It's so prevalent. And that, once again, relates back to sitting. And I have in the free handout on my site, a picture of a muscle called the iliopsoas muscle. Have you heard of that one?
I have, and I'm still learning how to say it, but you said it really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's a long muscle, sometimes called the pork loin of the human body, and it hooks from both sides of your spine, and if you can picture it, runs down along the spine and then attaches to the top of each one of your legs. Okay. And then what happens is, while you're sitting, the muscle actually shortens. So if you're seated 8 hours a day, that iliopsoas muscle is tight and short the whole time. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this, when you get up to move after sitting a long time, you might notice, oh, wow, it's hard to actually walk. Have you ever noticed that?
Oh, true, yeah. Yes. After maybe being on an airplane, especially.
Yeah, so a big culprit when it comes to that problem is that iliopsoas is getting tight and short. It's not natural, right? This is a modern invention for us, sitting like this in our couches and our office chairs and that type of thing. Okay. If you think about our ancestors, even 100 years ago, they moved and used their bodies with a greater variety of movement and joint range of motion. And by contrast, in our modern lifestyle, we're stuck in these restricted, confined positions. And for example, with that iliopsoas, it's getting tighter and shorter, and then it can create problems. It can restrict the use and movement of your legs. It can impinge nerve feeds that travel out from your spine. It can cause hip problems. So it's just a huge culprit, and it's causing a major muscle imbalance. It's pulling on your structure excessively, in particular your spine. And once again, that muscle imbalance is causing structural problems, and which leads to the aches, pain, stiffness, swelling, nerve impingement, joint problems. That kind of thing.
Wow, yeah. And I'm realizing that I think in yoga we say psoas. So I'm realizing that this may be the same thing that you're talking about. So yes, and I totally agree that, as a fitness instructor, I know that we emphasize over and over again to people that it's so important to be active. And I know in yoga, there are certain things you can do to also stretch your psoas. And people are, I also remember learning in yoga training that the psoas will feel tight also if you're feeling like it kind of stores stress. So that's another reason you might be feeling pain or imbalance. That's so good to know that from sitting, it can kind of tighten. I didn't even know that. So there's so much to learn about the body, and we have so many moving parts. I know that people are
a fascinating machine.
It really is, and I think it's also good to know that there's so much you can do to help yourself feel better. And thank you so much for creating this book. So Bart. So again, Bart's book is called Jiffy Body, and of course you can go to jiffybody.com if you want to get those free, the quick body tips that Bart was mentioning. Again, there's a bit link for that. It's a way to take you directly to that page. That's bit.ly/Jiffy Body. And Bart, thank you so much for, again, writing this book, and it looks fantastic. I'm going to definitely check out your quick body tips here, because there's so much to learn. And I do think that so many people are suffering with aches and pains, and I think it's really good to know that there are things that you can do. And I mean, would you say, Bart, that do you stay pretty active? Does that help you? I mean, are you doing the Jiffy Body on a regular basis, like what you recommend to other people? Is that how you keep aches and pains away, or are you also
absolutely. And I love, surfing. I do river paddleboarding and skiing.
Wow.
I love all my sports, and there's no way I could do it if I wasn't practicing this consistently. It would just be a recipe for disaster. So,
Well, that's so great. It kind of sounds like kind of practical therapy, that you can, a way that you can stay in balance, literally. And that's amazing. And thank you so much for writing this book. Go ahead.
I was just going to mention a great part of the system is by doing it, you can avoid injuries and aches and pains. And I know to a lot of people that's like I'm selling insurance or something. It doesn't sound that exciting,
No.
But the truth is, if you want to keep doing all your favorite things, if you use something like this system that doesn't really take a lot of time, it doesn't take a lot of effort, really, it's just that consistent practice, you can avoid unnecessary suffering. And because I've experienced lots of unnecessary suffering, I'm all about prevention.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And it is true that I love how you say consistent practice. That's really true. I have found for just about anything, and it doesn't really take that much time. I mean, it's kind of like brushing your teeth, or I know that a lot of us are probably still working on vegetables and getting enough sleep, but it's really like a routine, right? And of course, taking care of your body, like. Those are the things that make all the difference. I have definitely learned that along the way.
Yeah, I have a good little tip on that for people that I've given to lots of my clients over the years, and that is, just kind of trick yourself. So like with this system, I tell people if you don't feel like doing the whole system, that's okay. Just tell yourself you're going to do 3 of the practice positions. Yeah. And then lots of times after you've done just a few of them, you'll be like, oh, okay, I'll do the whole thing. It's not such a big deal.
Right. Oh, that's really, I think that's good. We often have to build up to where we want to be with our habits. But also what you were saying, when you start feeling better, when you, sometimes we don't realize, we don't have the motivation to do something. It's because we don't realize that we're going to feel better when we do it. And so once you start feeling better, then you find that intrinsic motivation. And then, like you said, then it kind of becomes maintenance and it's
and the thing I tell people too is if you try 3 of the practice positions and you just want to quit for the day, then fine. At least you kept the habit going, because the habit is the absolute critical thing to keep going.
Yes. Oh, so well said, Bart. The habit is, it's so true. And we can change our habits over time, and, and it's really for your own well-being and good, and you will feel better. So the reward is kind of, it's kind of a self-reward in a way. You get to feel better, and then life looks and feels better. So Bart, I can't thank you for being here and writing your book. It's called Jiffy Body, and everyone, you can go to jiffybody.com to find it. And again, also, if you want to go specifically to find those quick body tips that Bart was mentioning, just type in this really short address, bit.ly/Jiffy Body, and it'll take you straight to those quick body tips that Bart was mentioning. And Bart, is there anything else, like any final takeaways or anything else at all that you would like to say or share with our listeners today?
Oh, yeah, sure. There is one catch, actually, to this system, And this is the big catch. Because everyone always wants to know, what's the catch? When they're considering a product, right? The catch is, in order to benefit from the system, you do need to practice the system.
That's yeah, and I totally appreciate you saying that, and I know I'm sure we all have the habit, maybe a bad habit, of maybe say buying a book or system and then not doing anything with it. But again, hopefully people will realize it's, find that kind of internal motivation. Once you start to practice something, you're going to feel better, and then it's true for anything, right? Like I think for a lot of people, maybe in general, they don't feel like they want to exercise, and yet if you can find something you like to do, for instance, maybe surfing, you might not realize that you're exercising, right? And then you start to feel better, and there's so many benefits that come along with it. So, I encourage everyone to not only get Jiffy Body, but also to use, actually, to implement them.
That's what I'm finding. I really loved writing the book, and I labored over just making it as simple as possible. And what I found, since it's been selling for a while, is that the really great feedback on Amazon, like the really amazing quotes, come from people who, once they've practiced it, I think for more than 30 days, it's like they're hooked. They're like, oh, I'm always going to do this. This is so easy to do. It's a non-workout. I'm definitely going to do it forever. and that's where the what's that?
I said that's so great. I'm so glad you're getting that kind of feedback on there, on Amazon.
Yeah, that's where the testimonials come from, is really the users they've tried it for 30 days and they get it. They're like, oh God, this really works.
That is so awesome.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, so that's been really rewarding. And then even the people who might not, have the time yet or to practice, I'm totally fine. I totally understand that, Even the ones who've done that, lots of times they're like, I really enjoyed reading your book. It was really simple, explained these concepts. I'm like, I'm not practicing yet, but, it's a really great book.
Hey, the seed has been planted at least, right? So, it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a while before we circle back to something, but it's really good to know about, and, at least people will be hearing this podcast, and then hopefully they'll get your book, and then I think it's true for anything, we all have our own timetable for things, but for anyone who's listening, just remember that the goal is to feel better. So, if you remember why you bought a book or listened to a podcast, right, you had a reason that you did that. It was probably because you're in pain, right, or you've got joint issues or stiffness or something else. So just remember the original reason that you bought the book in the first place, and then, you can always circle back to it. So, and it's there for you waiting. And go ahead.
Absolutely. I'd love to mention, too, that for people who have aches and pains, I really stress in the book that you're building rapport with your body. So that old saying, no pain, no gain, you do not want to go that approach. It's no brain, no gain, right? So you really need, and so you really need to listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, don't do the practice position. Just back off. Maybe you come back to it a few days later. It's not about suffering. It's kind of like what you've been saying all along. It's about feeling better right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that, Bart. I think a lot of people, again, so many things you just said right there, kind of building rapport with your body, getting to, your body's on your side, I really believe in that. And your body wishes to feel good. I really believe that our bodies inherently, we're designed to feel good. So, I really appreciate you saying that. And I really also appreciate the fact that you said it doesn't have to be, definitely don't push your body through any pain, because that's a signal your body is sending to you to back off from whatever it is. So it sounds like your system is, I love how you call it the non-workout. So, and you said no brain, no pain, no brain, no gain. Is that what you?
Yeah,
Is that your
no
motto?
brain, no gain. Yeah.
No brain, no gain.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
Well,
in the book, when people get it, they'll see, like, I have practice positions you can do in your couch.
Perfect, excellent. Hey, I think a lot of us are spending time there, and so you can tell yourself, when you're done watching, binge watching whatever Netflix series, might be your latest binge, take a few moments, you can read it and then it'll be in your mind, in your brain, and then just tell yourself, hey, I'm just going to try this, right? I'm here anyway, sitting on my couch. Maybe I've got some aches and pains, and just see how you feel and go from there.
Yeah, that sounds
you might
great.
Surprise yourself. You might surprise yourself.
Yeah. I mean, they're so easy. You could practice them while you're watching your movie, actually.
You don't even have to.
Yeah.
You don't even have to.
Yeah, you don't even have
movie.
to wait. Yeah.
Excellent.
In fact, I have one that you can do from your couch that activates these muscles in your lower leg called the peroneus and tibialis muscles. And they're critical for stabilizing your feet and your ankles and your knees. So you can practice, it's called a toe circle. You can practice your toe circle to activate those muscles, and you're benefiting your feet, ankles, and knees. Yeah.
Excellent. That is so good to know.
Yeah.
See, so there's always a way to kind of add things in. I will admit that sometimes I do a little bit of yoga when I'm watching some kind of movie. So there's always a way to fit something in, and that is so cool to know. Thanks for mentioning that, Bart. And I want to thank you so much for being here. And again, everyone, Bart.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that you wrote to me. Here, I saw your message here on Blog Talk Radio from Facebook. So I'm glad you wrote to me. Right. And so everyone, I encourage you to get Bart's book, Jiffy Body. It sounds really helpful and really practical. And obviously, none of us want to have pain and or suffer unnecessarily or at all, for that matter. So. Thank you so much for writing this book, Bart, and I appreciate you being here. You're welcome back anytime. And everyone, you've been listening to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. And again, go check out Bart's book. Now, you also mentioned it's on Amazon, right, Bart? Is that where everyone
Amazon, Barnes & Noble. There's an e-book, too. And so, whatever format people like.
That's awesome. Very cool. And Bart, are you planning, I'm just curious, are you planning to do an audio book or, because I know those are really big right now.
Yeah, I'd consider that. I wasn't, because, there's really excellent photographs that demonstrate the positions and everything that go along with the written portions. I wasn't sure how that would work out, but I know audiobooks are big.
They are, but you're right. It should fit the format.
Yeah. I'd love to mention, though, I really enjoy teaching this. I teach it online, especially nowadays, to public service groups, companies, businesses. I can, with video or, a Zoom and all these things, I can teach lots of the techniques through video. And so if anyone has a group that's looking for a speaker, I love to do that kind of stuff.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you mentioned that. So then if someone wanted to contact you to set something like that up, how would they do that? Yeah,
just email me, bart@jiffybody.com, and my phone number and email as well is on the contact tab on my website, so it's always there. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. That's so cool that you're doing that, Bart. And I mean, it's so great to, once we start feeling better, whatever our own issues are, it's so nice doesn't it feel good to give back and just help more people? That's really what it's all about. Yeah, kind of coming full circle. And that's awesome that you work with groups as well and companies. And so again, everyone, you can check out Jiffy Body. His book is Bart's book is on Amazon, and it sounds like it's also on Barnes & Noble. It's an ebook. Yeah. You can also go to jiffybody.com to contact him if you'd like him to kind of work with your group or one-on-one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, you can do a free first online session. So for anyone who wants
very
to
cool. That's awesome.
Meet online, yeah.
Very cool. Oh, I know. Are you doing that on Zoom, or I know everybody's using Zoom right now? Zoom is pretty amazing,
absolutely.
I have to say. It's very useful.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. Yeah, I'm very grateful for it. And again, if you're looking for those quick body tips, type in this link, bit.ly/Jiffy Body. And Bart, of course, I'm happy to give that bit link to you as well. I just put that together, but you're welcome to
awesome. Thank you.
put that on your bit link as well if you like. You can just message me about that. And everybody, thank you so much for listening today. We thank you for listening. And Bart, is there anything else you want to add, or?
I think that really covers it. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time and for everyone for listening. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. Likewise. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. And Bart, it was very nice to chat with you, and I'm sure I'll talk to you online on Facebook. So again, everybody, you've been listening. Yeah, thank you. You've been listening to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio, and we hope you have a really great day wherever you are in this amazing world of ours. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye, Bart.